De'Aaron Fox returns to Sacramento today. And also, let's go into preview tonight's Spurs-Kings game.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. TGIF, seriously. You made it through the work week. We made it through here with you. Let's go ahead and dive into some silver and black talk right here on Locked On Spurs, your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. By the way, subscribe to Locked On Spurs on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Kings 5 Plus app. Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below on YouTube. There's a link there. It says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that right now. It's completely free. Sign up today. What are we talking about today? You can see on your screen if you're watching on YouTube, but basically if you're not, we're looking at tonight's game, Spurs-Kings. The big storyline is Fox's return to the team that drafted him. It was, I guess you could say it was an ugly exit. A lot of Kings fans felt upset by the whole process. Will he get booed? Does he deserve to get booed? And how's his fit so far? He's been with the team for a little over 10 games. What do the numbers show? And so much more. Then obviously we'll look at the bigger picture. Tonight's Spurs game. Spurs, they're back on the road. They just finished the road trip. Now they're back on the road. But if you haven't looked at the Spurs calendar, I think they end the season like with a lot of games at home. So you didn't get to see them when they got back from the road trip. Not a problem. They'll be in San Antonio basically to close out the season. They're really at home for a lot of games. By the way, everybody, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You want to go to FanDuel right now because new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You want to go to FanDuel right now. So, yeah, Fox returns to Sacramento. It was a midseason trade. Spurs-Kings. Spurs get their guy, that running mate for Wemby. Yeah, well, we have to wait to see how that's going to look next season when the two get a full regular season together. But so far, so good. Is there some negatives? Yeah, there's some negatives about his fit in San Antonio. And then, you also got to wonder, too, about tonight's game. He's going to get a tribute video. That's coming. But, man, when the trade happened, a lot of Sacramento fans were upset, really upset. And I think he might get some boos. Well, we'll talk about that and more right now with our guest. He is back to close out the week with us. He is Joe Garcia. There is Joe with he always has the new hat. Every time he has a new hat. You want to follow Joe on X at Area 210 Podcast. He's part of the Area 210 Podcast show along with Mike Jimenez. I feel like Jack Nicholson Joker right now. Joe, when I say, where do you get those wonderful caps? Seriously, man, you almost have a collection.
Yeah, I got a lot of hats behind me and hanging over here on the door to the studio. But This one was given to me on my birthday. I think it was last year by a friend. His name is Mario Cavazos. And I know you like this hat. It's just silver and silver, silver on gray.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When I first saw it when you came on, I thought that my video was messing up because he usually has like more color in his hats. But no, that's it, right? Silver and silver, right?
Yeah.
We're on silver, right?
Over on silver, man.
Don't you have one, like a coyote one that's rare? Remember you were that little coyote one?
Yeah, I have that one. I retired that one because they don't make them anymore. That was done by a local artist here in San Antonio. So I kind of put that one away. You were with me a couple of times when we'd go out and eat or something.
Yeah.
They'd be like, hey, I like your hat. And I was like, oh, thanks, So
that was a cool one.
Yeah, that one was. It was done. The coyote was done in that Kanye West cover, kind of stylish, stylized artwork from the local artist. So he did good. He does good stuff. He's still on Insta, man. He's still, peddling his wares out there. So keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on him.
All right. Well, if you want to compliment Joe on his Spurs caps and his collection, but more importantly, you want to subscribe to Area 210 Podcast, follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast right now. He'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Joe, let's talk about De'Aaron Fox today. Put him in the spotlight. So we'll get to the game preview in a bit, but he returns to Sacramento for the first time since the deal. When the deal went down, at least on the Sacramento side, a lot of Sacramento fans were kind of upset. Hey, organization, how can you let him go? It was practically for nothing. I mean, if you think about it, the Spurs got an all-star and they gave up peanuts. They didn't give up Steph Castle. They didn't give up ATL's picks. They got Steele. Looking back at that deal, Joe, what do you think about it? I think the Spurs obviously won that deal, right?
Oh, no doubt that the Spurs won that deal. I mean, what were they able to do? Unload Trey Jones, unload Zach Collins,
Yep.
16 mil sitting on the bench, give up a little bit of picks here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't a bad deal overall if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan. I mean, you wanted to get De'Aaron Fox, but at what cost? And you found out that the cost wasn't that much. You unloaded some pieces that some, Spurs fans had kind of an opinion about and didn't really produce, but they are still missing a big at this juncture in the season, So you kind of look at that and you're like, well, it hurts, but at the end of the day, getting De'Aaron Fox in that trade with Sacramento was instrumental to the Spurs' growth moving forward, pairing him alongside Wemby. If only we were able to see a bigger sample size of that and what could have been, but we'll look forward to that next year. But right now, you can't be happier if you're a Spurs fan with the Fox trade,
Yeah, we talked about this on yesterday's Locked On Spurs show. I'll get your thoughts on this. Do you think De'Aaron Fox is now part of a foundational piece with Wemby, and I guess you could throw in Castle? Do you think he's like one of the major pillars moving forward?
I would say yes. You want a prolific guard and Fox, right? To go ahead and pair him alongside Wemby. And then you have a point guard of the future there sitting right there, in Stephon Castle, who's arguably going to be the rookie of the year. He's already running a little bit.
Just give him the award now, right? Seriously, just give him the award.
So you look at that and you're like, okay, these are the three pillars that the Spurs have. Beyond that, the other supporting cast, they need some work, man. Yeah, you need to be able to pair these three with some shooters, people that can knock down a consistent jumper, knock down a consistent three-point shot. They also need to address the big man situation. Maybe the draft, coming up, maybe they'll get a higher pick there and be able to get a big man that can actually play center, down low. That way Wemby can kind of play more of his natural position, playing around in the perimeter, kind of more of the finesse player. So he doesn't have to bang bodies and get that wear and tear on his thin frame,
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at Fox too. He's been fitting. He's definitely a Spurs kind of guy. Fits in with the atmosphere, the culture in San Antonio. Very good with media. All in all, it seems to be a good fit, and I think you're absolutely right. Hit on the head. Us not seeing him and Wemby develop this year, it's kind of a bust. But I get it. Wemby has a medical issue they got to take care of, so they got to do what they got to do. But early on, you liked it. You saw that threat. You saw the defense collapse on Wemby and Fox able to roam out there with him. It's going to work. I think this pairing is definitely going to work in San Antonio. I think once they get the rhythm, once they get the groove together, once they learn one another, watch out NBA, because it's going to be one of the better 1-2 punches next season when Wemby is back in full healthy. Do you think De'Aaron Fox, though, we'll get into the numbers in a bit, but do you predict that maybe his numbers may dip a bit because he's not the guy anymore? It's Wemby. He's now the second fiddle.
I don't know if his numbers will dip too much. I would assume that his numbers would either stay even kill or hover right about maybe 20 points, 21 points per game when you have Wemby coming back. Because think of it this way. There's going to be nights where people are just going to double and triple team Wemby.
Oh, yeah.
We have Fox free. He can go off and get you his points. Then when they try to make the adjustments on Fox, you give the ball back to Wemby. It's not a bad 1-2 punch. And if neither one of them are hidden, you give the ball to Stephon Castle. It's like you got a three-headed monster there. So I think that's good for the Spurs moving forward. It kind of, as far as Fox's numbers dipping, they might take a little dip, but it's going to be good overall because that's going to mean that other people are helping Fox. They're stepping up like Wemby, like, Stephon Castle, maybe Keldon Johnson, a Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell needs to be a little bit more consistent in my book. He had a good 37-point outing, but let's see what he does in this upcoming game against the Sacramento Kings. Can you imagine if Devin Vassell became consistent and Fox? Ooh, man.
Yeah, that'd be good. I actually think that perhaps Fox's numbers could increase once Wemby comes back and they two can play and get some rhythm going because of the attention that Wemby gets, allowing Fox to roam. Right now, you're seeing defensive key on Fox more. They're throwing doubles at him. they can't do that when Wemby's there. The doubles and triples are going to go to him. So I think his numbers may spike overall once they get some time together. I remember another thing about it too that I liked was that I don't know if it was the first time or at least in a long time that an all-star player, wanted to get traded to San Antonio. That's what according to reports that Fox had his eyes set on one destination if he got traded, and that was the Spurs. And it happened. So I like the precedent that sets moving forward in the rebuild. Perhaps other top players that are in a team would request trades to San Antonio. So Fox, that's one thing I loved about it, and I hope it sets a precedent moving forward. And there's, the KD rumors out there. There's, obviously this offseason with free agency. Hopefully the Spurs can make something happen. But as far as that aspect of the deal and Fox involved, yeah, I love that. I like that. That's already a good precedent, a good foundation for other players that may want to join the Spurs moving forward. But overall, yeah, I think the fit's been good. Joe, we're going to go to the numbers shortly. Overall, though, just with the eye test right now, he can obviously score. He can play some defense. They call him Swipe of the Fox for a reason. We've seen that in action already in San Antonio. Clutch. He could have had already 2 clutch moments as a Spur just in 13 games. They had that Charlotte loss where he made the basket, but it was too little too late. And then we saw him hit the game winner versus the Memphis Grizzlies. So he's being that clutch player, and we're seeing it, and hopefully that'll keep on moving forward. He is Joe Garcia with Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. When we get back, let's look at some numbers. How is Fox fitting in statistically? What's the good? What's the bad? What areas of improvement do we want to see? We're going to be discussing that and more right here on Locked On Spurs in just a few seconds. But first, let's talk about Prize Picks.
Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in over 30 states, and lets you mix and match projections across different sports. Look, quick and easy. Prize Picks makes it simple, and you can set your lineup in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long. What about fast payouts? When you win, your money hits your account in as little as 15 minutes and no waiting around. And you've got Taco Tuesday deals. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25%, giving even more value to your lineup. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Oh, hey, this is Morty Smith and Cheese. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. Cheese.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. It's on YouTube. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Joe, let's look at some numbers now. He's putting up good numbers. We look at what he's been doing in 13 games for the Spurs. It's pretty good. He's giving you, about 19.3 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, 6.6 assists in 34 minutes. Not bad. I do project that will go up in the final few 20-ish games that the Spurs have. But overall, not a bad start. Joe, your thoughts?
No, not a bad start at all. I mean, you got to factor, he's got to get used to the Spurs system.
Yeah.
He did that while they were on the road and had he was very impactful when he first came in and played with the Spurs. So, kind of things leveling off a little bit because he was probably riding high on adrenaline, at that point in time. But getting used to the system, getting used to how they run things here is going to be a little different than they do it over in Sacramento. I just want to see him, get better every game moving forward. And I think it's going to take the rest of the season for him to build some kind of, consistent chemistry, get used to the system, kind of feel more comfortable. A lot of good things that he can build on for next season, especially getting that hand surgery. I'm wondering, Jeff, how many games into the season right now are they going to go ahead and shut him down? You factor in right now the Spurs have just under maybe 20-something games left in the season. I'd say maybe he'll play 10 games of that, 12 games before they shut him down for the season so he can get his his finger surgery. Then you have to factor in the rehab. You want him at 100% when they start summer camp again over here for the season, beginning of the season. So I mean, at some point you got to think about that. But I think he's building on some good trajectory right now as far as him playing, getting used to things, and building that team chemistry with the other players here on the team. Because who knows who'll be here next year, Jeff? That's a big question mark.
Yeah, well, Fox will definitely be here, that's for sure. And if you talk about that finger injury in the Austin games, he showed off the injury to his finger, what it looks like without the tape, and it was like bent in like that. Like he could have straightened it out. It was completely bent. He goes, I have to tape it together because if I don't tape it together and it's like this, the ball will come and smash it and make it worse. So you expect him to undergo the knife once the offseason gets here. Now, other good statistics that we like from Fox so far. He started all 13 games since becoming a Spur. Just thrown right into the fire there. He's shooting about 44% from the field. He's getting to the free throw line about 4 times a game. I think that will spike as the season moves forward and he becomes more of the focal point to finish out the season. But Joe, right off the bat, if I had to pick something that I guess negative, 3-point shooting in the 13 games he's a Spur, 26% shooting from the 3 line. He's taking about 5-6 shots a game from beyond the arc, only making about 1 or 2. Does that surprise you, or is that kind of what you expected from Fox shooting beyond the arc?
Well, kind of what I expected from him shooting beyond the arc. I mean, when he was in with Sacramento, he was at 31% from beyond the arc, So his field goal shooting percentage with Sacramento was 46.3. With the Spurs thus far, it's hovering somewhere in the neighborhood of 42.9%. Yeah. So it means that he's taking a little dip here, probably because he's not getting as many touches as he was in Sacramento. So the production has gone down a little bit. But nonetheless, I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, he does have 2.6 turnovers per game. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is on that end. But you get a lot out of him as far as what he's able to do out there on the court, create his own shot, great shot creator, be aggressive going to the rim, good in between game. You like everything you see out of him. Poised veteran out there, kind of keeping the young crew out there under control at times. But, the one thing that I would like to see him do is hopefully he can make this team stop squandering double points as far as their leads go, 19 points, and then squandering that and losing. But that comes with time. So hopefully that leadership, that quality that he has in him will rub off on some of the younger core. But other than that, Jeff, I've been really thrilled with his production thus far. Again, learning a new system. So good for him, man.
Yeah, what's hurting him right now, as far as the stats are concerned, are the turnovers. You brought it up. He's averaging about 2.5 turnovers a game. And so far through his 13 games played as a Spur, his plus minus is a minus 5.5. It's because of the turnovers.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will be cleaned up as the season moves forward and he gets adjusted to his new teammates. And vice versa, too. His new team's got to get adjusted to him. Also, too, they got to adjust to him being the focal guy. I think along with Steph Castle, but mainly Fox. So you expect him with the ball more in his hands in the last few games. But, you look at other things that stand out. Fast break points, giving you about 4 a game. What else he got here for you? Steals, awesome. He's giving you about 1.8, so we'll give him 2 per game. His assist to turnover ratio is 2.6. That's got to be cleaned up, but we know that the turnovers are an issue right now for him. And the record with him as a Spur is 5-8. So it's below 500, but it's not all on him. It's the entire Spurs team not playing well, getting blown out versus Houston, but then coming back and beating a Brooklyn team they should beat. So again, all in all, it's not just on him as well. Joe, do you think as the season ends, though, even though the team is without Wemby, maybe one of the silver linings is that the team isn't with Wemby, allowing Fox to kind of be on a fast track to learn the system and be the guy. So when Wemby does come back next season, you got Fox already seasoned as a Spur and knows what it is to take over the game when Wemby's not on the court.
I think it's great for Fox to get a taste of what this team is like without Wemby. That way he knows how much better they are when Wemby's on the court.
Yeah.
And the differences between the two. Right now he knows he's having to do a lot, called upon to do a lot right now in the absence of one Victor Wembanyama. But it's also good for him to see what Stefan Castle can do, what a Devin Vassell can do, like Keldon Johnson, some of the other supporting cast members, Harrison Barnes, getting used to their style of play. All these things are going to be great for next season, even though it might not translate into a lot of wins. I know Spurs fans were looking at the Spurs to make the play-in. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Being realistic here, not being a hater, I'm going to be happy with whatever happens. The one thing that I think Spurs fans need to look for in this whole silver lining thing with the injury to Victor Wembanyama is, like you said, Fox getting used to the team, looking to see what the other players can offer here. But more importantly, you want to see the team get better as a whole in the absence of one Victor Wembanyama. Because even though you look at the end of the day, the wins and losses don't really matter. What really matters at this juncture is you're seeing some consistent growth. You want to see them play better, not squander leads, try to chip away at leads if they're in a deficit. See what they can do right now as far as building good habits that they can carry over into next season.
Yeah. The other thing too is he tends to create his own shot more often than him getting the assist. Yeah. And I think that's another good aspect of his game that is bringing to San Antonio, his own shot creation, a shot creator on the Spurs. So we look at some of the numbers here. So he's shooting 52% on unassisted shots. So he's making his own shots that he's creating good. As far as assisted, he's getting you about 48. So it's a really good balance. He's a mid-range threat. He's obviously a threat at the paint, at the rim. He's obviously, could get a little better at the 3 line, but that's perhaps his only weakness right now. But as you mentioned, Joe, even in Sacramento, he wasn't a great 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
he was okay, but not great. Hopefully that'll evolve.
Be honest, Jeff. He's all right. He's all right.
He's all right from the 3 line. And here's the thing too. His average shooting distance is about 14.5 feet away from the rim. So, a good mid-range kind of shooter. So, overall, so far so good with Fox. The areas to clean up, absolutely. But I think that will come in time. But there's a game to be played, right, Joe? Yeah, when we get back, we're going to look at tonight's game, Spurs-Kings. Ask the question, will Fox get booed when he makes his arrival back to the team that drafted him? And also just how the Kings looking. We're going to be discussing that and more right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. But first, let's talk about FanDuel.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into the same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I miss a chance. Plus, with the app, it's easy to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You just want to go to FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. How about that? Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
This is Emilio Rivera, the Padrino for the Mayans MC. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with the Red Hulk. Oh, that's not the Red Hulk. That's Joe Garcia. Hey, Joe, you fooled me there, man. I thought you were the Red Hulk right now, man. What happened?
I don't even want to talk about that. That movie was awful, dude.
Bad. I haven't seen it yet. Is that a good one?
Don't see it. Don't go pay to see that nonsense, dude. I bet you anything, Jeff, you're going to get like 5-10 minutes in the movie and you're going to be like, yeah, I'm out, man.
I'm out. Should I just wait for Disney Plus to get it and then watch it?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. You're going to see it on Disney Plus and 5 to 10 minutes in, you're going to like, can't, man, I'm out. It's horrible.
Out. Yeah. That's what I heard. The reviews have been saying that. Obviously, you're saying that right now. Mm. The only one that I've heard so far say that it's a thumbs up is James Pledger, but I'm not surprised by that, man. He loves everything Marvel, man. He loves everything Marvel.
True story with Pledger, man. I hung out with them when we had the karaoke party.
Yeah.
We Pledge made our way over to the Root Pub, man. We didn't get home till late, dude. I can get home till like 4:00. I was like, that's what happens when you hang out with Pledge. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lives at the brew pub, man. If I ever do want to hang out with him, I don't have to contact him. I just gotta show up to the brew pub. He'll be
There
there.
you go.
So that's all you gotta do. But anyway, Joe Garcia, Area 210 podcast. He's here to help us look at tonight's game, Spurs-Kings. Now, just a quick aside, it's not just Fox's return to Sacramento. It's also Harrison Barnes. Those two guys were teammates in Sacramento for a while. The Barnes really was a good piece for them, especially when they were winning those few years, like the Beam era, all that good stuff. So I expect Harrison Barnes to get a very good welcome back to Sacramento and get his tribute video as well. But then there's Fox, Joe. Okay, we'll look at some of the numbers, Spurs-Kings in a bit, and give a prediction. But do you think he's going to get booed tonight?
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be some fans that feel a certain way.
So
I think there's going to be more cheers than boos. They're going to give him his roses, give him the tribute video and all that. I mean, why wouldn't they want to do that? I mean, he's nothing but been a classy player. I mean, he's been good for their community. Him and his wife, they do a lot. You see them doing a lot here in the community for San Antonio. They're great people, great family. I mean, why would you want to go ahead and hate on him and boo him, man? Give the man his roses, cheer for him. He's not a Kawhi. He didn't do us like a Kawhi Leonard. So come on, man.
Yeah. I think he might. I think you might hear audible boos, like in the sense of, like you'll be okay. I hear claps, but I hear some boos because one, there was a segment of Kings fans that believe that he wedged himself out of Sacramento, that he was looking for anything to get out. The whole Mike Brown thing, that blew up, and many think that he took advantage of that to get out of Sacramento. Obviously, look, do you blame Kings fans for feeling the way they do? No, that's their franchise guy. And you hit it on the nail. Maybe it's not at the Kawhi Leonard level, getting out of San Antonio, but Spurs fans could sympathize with Kings fans because Spurs fans went through it with Kawhi Leonard. Kings fans went through it or going through it now with Fox. So
what is it?
But
what is it the equivalent of seeing your ex for the first time, right?
Right. Yeah,
out in the wild.
It is, yeah.
You're like, damn.
And I know there are going to be some boos as well because when the deal went down, and we were talking about it at Locked On Spurs, and I was putting up articles, screenshots of it on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. There were Kings fans that were coming in and leaving comments such as, "Ha ha ha, you guys got the wrong end of the deal. You're gonna realize that Fox ain't all that. You're gonna realize how he's just gonna start chucking up shots." So there was a lot of scorned Kings fans that really were venting right now, and again, like the whole Mike Brown situation. All that, and at least according to Kings fans, not me, not Joe Garcia, that Fox can be sometimes, I don't want to say a troublemaker, but like never. Let me rephrase it. From what I understand from Kings fans is that he never takes responsibility for maybe his faults on the court.
Yeah.
So there's that as well. But again, that's why I predict it's going to be a heavy mix of boos and cheers. And think about this too, Joe. Before the Spurs, I'm talking days and days ago, are coming on the court today. So what happened was the Kings played like their last home game before going on a long road trip. So when the Kings fans were leaving Golden One Center, the Kings Arena announcer announced, hey, the next home game will be on March 6th against the San Antonio Spurs. And they put a picture of De'Aaron Fox. And the fans that were exiting the arena were booing him already. So and Fox talked about it too after the last home game against the Nets, saying that he's expecting it, that but he's also saying, look, he's thankful to be back. He's thankful to be back for this team that drafted him. But he also said he doesn't care about bitter people. So
the Sacramento Kings fans are bitter people right now because it's like this. They don't want to see the ex thrive. You let her go. You didn't want her. She's crazy and all that kind of stuff. Cut her loose. You see her 6 months, a year later with the new booed up, looking cute in that little dress. Man, she looks happier with that dude than she did with me. Like, come on, man. Don't be bitter, dude. Be happy. You moved on. Move on,
they're bitter. All right, they're bitter.
They're just being haters at this point,
Joe,
if they follow, I can hear you. I said if they're bitter, they're just being haters at this point.
Yeah.
If they go ahead and follow Fox and see what he does with the Spurs more than they do the Sacramento Kings. They just became Spurs fans, man. Welcome to the silver and black,
No, there you go. Look at Joe. All right, so what is going on today out and in Sacramento? Let's look at it right now. All right, so the Kings, they're a decent team. Great. They're in the play-in, playoff area right now. They are 32-29, good for ninth in the Western Conference. You're looking at some of the stats here. Let's take a look at them here. So if I'm looking at tonight's game, all right, here we go. So, Joe, first thing of all, Spurs-Kings, if I'm looking at the Spurs side and getting ready for the Kings, I'm saying this, they're valuing the ball. This last 3 games, they recorded fewer turnovers than their opponent. So I think that's the situation the Spurs are going to have to just keep an eye on, is that not, at least in the last 3 games, they're not giving up those easy buckets in transition off turnovers. They're keeping it low. So there's that right there. All right. Also, they're playing the clean game. The Sacramento Kings have committed fewer fouls in the last 3 games as well. So again, Spurs are going to have to really try to get them into foul trouble if they want to have a shot at getting a W on the road. Also, too, as far as rebounding, the Kings have been out rebounded in the last 2 games on the defensive boards and on the offensive boards. And Joe, that's something the Spurs have been struggling with lately, right? Is just rebounding, correct?
Yeah, man, giving up those second and third shot opportunities by getting out rebounded on the board has been detrimental to them. And some of these losses that they've had against some of these other teams, especially on the road, you want to be able to get some of those wins, but you're not going to help yourself by giving the opposing team, second and third chance opportunities to score, so they need to go ahead and clean that up. But, they're missing Victor Wembanyama. They got Fox on the team now, so they got little things to clean up there. But definitely, man, you want to at least keep that rebounding battle close. You don't want to get decimated. The other area that they've been getting blown out of the water in is points in the paint, Jeff. That's been brutal to see because they have no shot blocker, no rim protector now with Victor Wembanyama being out. And we're seeing the disparity when it comes to other teams knowing that, and they're just going straight for the heart. Yeah.
I mean, look, they're undersized right now. San Antonio, Bismack, he's doing the best he can, but he's not.
Give him a golf clap.
Give
him a clap.
I'll give him a golf clap. Yeah, he definitely deserves a golf clap. Yeah,
man.
He's playing pretty well, but I mean, the thing about the Spurs are just small. The backup big right now is Jeremy Sohan. So the bigger team. Hey, I mean, it is what it is. A bigger team that can have their way with this Spurs team. That's why I was a little surprised that they lost to Memphis, because Memphis is just a massive team. But hey, kudos to the Spurs. But so that's something to keep an eye on, just the size differential right now. Now, in the last 5 games, Joe, the Kings are 4-1. They're averaging about 118 points per game in that span, and they're connecting on 44% of the 3 shot. So yikes for the Spurs. You got to watch that 3 line. Joe, when you look at the Spurs, though, I think you're just going to, you want, first of all, I want Fox to go off tonight. I want him to just have one of the better games of his season. I think that'll help the Spurs, Barnes as well. I think the team too, Joe, I think from Chris Paul to Keldon to Devin, everybody else, I think they're probably going to want to win this one for De'Aaron and Harrison. What do you think?
I think the Spurs right now, I think they're favored by like just a couple points, so like 2 points or so. I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, both teams are going to want to be playing for pride at this time. Spurs are going to want to get the win for Fox against his old team, and Sacramento's going to want to best Fox's return home because fans are feeling a certain way, and the players want to go ahead and get this win for the fans, So I think it's going to be a heated battle there, really close game. I think the Spurs at the end of the day will ink it out. I hope the ball goes to Fox's hands with seconds left. He knocks it down. That's the dagger. Walks off the court victorious.
No.
Hey, man, I got one over on my old team, right off in the sunset, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little surprised you said that the Spurs are actually favored in this game because the Kings' record against teams that are below 500, they're 20-10. So they take care of business against teams, at least on paper, that they should beat. But, you got Sabonis on that side. You got Keegan Murray. You got Malik Monk. So this is going to be a handful for the Spurs. It's a late game, everybody. Get your coffee ready. It starts not till like 9 o'clock tonight. So you got a lot of time to get everything you need to get done before the tip-off. So
I was going to say,
go to that.
Don't the Kings still have DeMar DeRozan on there?
They got DeMar DeRozan. Good call. So, yeah, so it's another reunion right there. A former Spur meeting up with his old teammates. It's like reunion night for the San Antonio team and the Sacramento team.
Watch DeMar go off for like 30-something.
Can you imagine? Here we are thinking about Fox and Harrison going off on the former team. What about DeMar? But I don't think any bridges were burned when DeMar left San Antonio. So,
nothing but love, man. But still, he's going to be wanting to get this win too. So watch DeMar go off, like I said, for 30-plus points. That's the one thing I'm going to be watching. What's DeMar going to do, and what is Fox going to do? It's going to be Fox versus DeMar DeRozan,
Yep. Basically, yeah. I got to say, it's reunion night. Yeah, you got Harrison Barnes and Fox and DeMar. And, yeah. Can we throw in Trey Lyles as well?
Oh, expert Trey Lyles.
Expert right there. Yeah, Trey Lyles. So it's reunion night in Sacramento. Hopefully the Spurs get the W. Joe, who you went with, Spurs or Kings?
Now I'm gonna go with the silver and black. Gotta support the home team, man. I want them to get this dub, especially with all the boos, that I think that Fox will get. I hope the fans keep it classy, and give him his roses, but they're gonna be a little bitter.
Yeah, they're gonna be a little bitter. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I'm expecting. Again, I'm not like an overwhelming. The entire arena is booing Fox. I don't think that at all. But I think if we're going to be watching on television, that I think we might hear some and just enough to be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not quite a warm welcome back for Fox, but we shall see. We shall see. I'm going with the Spurs as well. I think the Spurs get the W. The emotion, of it. Fox is probably going to play one of his better games. I hopefully that dream scenario comes up where he's, how they call him Mr. Clutch, Mr. Fourth Period. Kind of is a tight game, hits the game-winning shot. I mean, talk about a poetic end to that game tonight. He is Joe Garcia with Area 210 Podcast. Joe, tell us what's going on with Area 210.
No, we're still doing the show here Monday through Fridays. We start about 10 o'clock if Mike makes it on time. Sometimes he's late. Sometimes I'm late. It's not always his fault. But we go from 10 all the way up to about 11:30. Sometimes we go over a little bit, depending on what the fans want to talk about. But join us, man. We're on YouTube at Area 210 Podcast. You can go ahead and check us out on YouTube, though. Our YouTube channel is Alamo City Podcast Network. We greatly appreciate all the support. We are growing quite a bit here. Our numbers are increasing. We're starting to scratch the surface there at getting closer and closer to 3,000. Don't know what we're going to do once we hit 3,000, but we're going to party somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a quick party again because y'all just celebrated 2,000 and another 3,000 party. So,
yeah.
Either way, that's good for you guys. That's good for y'all. That's just growth right there. So, again, go to Joe's X profile. That is at Area 210 Podcast. There you'll get all the links so you can go check out his show and subscribe to it right now. Also, subscribe to Locked On Spurs. You already get your favorite podcast: iTunes, Spotify, Ken5 Plus app, YouTube. Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below on YouTube. It says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that link, completely free. Hit your email inbox every single day. We'll be back next week, Monday, to talk all things silver and black as the season is starting to wind down. It's already just a few more games and it is all over. But for Joe Garcia, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.